Okay, so let's save these surface rates to an actual file so we can use that file to then deep dive into the depth and find, whether there's true triangular arbitrage opportunity or not. Now, before we go and do that, the first thing I want to say to you is you don't need to do this next step, right? You don't need to do this next step. And the reason for that is you can set a threshold, right? You could set a threshold here to something like, I don't know, 5%. And you could, go and run this code and have it, loop through even more than 100 coins, for example, to try and find an arbitrage opportunity. And actually, while I'm talking, we're actually going to do that. I'm going to put in here 500 and just let that run. So you could do that. And actually, it's not a bad idea because what you could do is run a loop to do that every, 1 minute. And for example, you could write something in Python to say, play a sound or send you an email or something if it finds a significant opportunity that's in a certain list or not in a certain list. You have all the skills now to go and do something like that, right? If you want to know how to get Python to send an email, you can easily go and figure that out on YouTube. There's so many things you can now do. And by the way, as we were running this, we have found some opportunities which are greater than 5%. So this is looking extremely promising, actually. And here's a bunch of empty objects as well. So we're going to work with this in a moment. But my point here is you don't have to use JavaScript, right? You can now go and take these. You can take this information. You can go over to Uniswap. You can punch in the contracts and see and manually calculate yourself, is there an arbitrage opportunity? And actually, that's going to be the safest way to do it in terms of actually checking on the platform itself, is there an arbitrage opportunity potential when it actually goes into the depth? So right now we have the surface rates, we don't have the depth. You would have to go and get the depth yourself if you're going to do that manually. But we're going to take this a step further only because I really want to hit a home run here with this course for you. I want to make sure that I'm going right into the very, very bones of how to use Python or even JavaScript here as a bonus to understand how triangular arbitrage is calculated. So with that said, at least those are your options. You've got so much information here that you can go and play with now with Python. So don't feel bad if you don't want to move to the next steps. You've done absolutely fantastically to get this far. And also, it's better really to go deeper into one language at first than to try several. But if you are game for it, if you're looking forward to, learning some additional skills here, then stick with me because we're going to take this to the next level. So now what I want to do here is I want to actually go and save this surface rate, right? So what I want to say here is if the length of the surface rate, right, if the length of the surface rate is greater than 0, that means we found something. Now you can see here a lot of these are just 0, right? So the length will be 0 because it's an empty object. The reason for that is if we scroll to the bottom, we can see that, if we don't find an arbitrage opportunity, it's just going to return this surface dictionary over here, right? So if the profit and loss percent is not right, then it's going to basically return this. And actually, I need to correct that very quickly. I'm going to actually save it like this because we already have a surface dictionary calculation here at the top. So it's not going to be helpful just to basically, return blank down there because that means it won't look at the reverse rate in case there is an opportunity. So actually, I'm just going to go and run that again. Let's just check something here. So it says here, file issue at line 40. Oh, and that's absolutely fine, right? That's fine. Let me just comment that out. And let's just print here the surface rate again. And that was completely an oversight on my side, right? We need to remove that, that extra return there. So now that that's running, I'm going to continue coding here. And I'm going to remove this print statement. And now we're saying if the surface rate, right, is greater than 0, then we want to actually do something with it. Well, what do we want to do? We actually want to store it. So here I'm going to just comment this section here and say, get surface rates. And we're going to put a variable here, which is going to be, surface rates or surface rates list. And we're going to put it as such. And what we're going to do here where it says 0 is we're going to say, and by the way, that has returned many arbitrage opportunities again. But we're going to append here to the surface rates list. We're going to go and append this surface rate over here. That's what we're going to do. So if we find that there is an arbitrage opportunity that meets our minimum threshold here, we're going to append it to this list. Now let's actually just go and, limit this to 100 again and make the minimum rate 0, just because I don't want to wait so long for it to calculate through those, even though it's really, really fast. In terms of recording, this video tutorial, it's going to be much easier to run it quicker here. And what I want to do here is now, print out that surface rate list just to make sure that that has absolutely worked. So that's what we're going to do here, and I'm going to hit run. And there we go. Here's the surface rate list. So I've got, a number of items in here. It goes on forever. And just to prove that to you, I'm going to print out the length of, this surface rate list over here. So again, we've actually got 26. And the reason for that is because we put 0 as our threshold. So it's actually returning all 26 options of that 100 there. So what I want to do here is not actually print this out. I want to actually save this to JSON file, right? So save to JSON file. And so the way to do that here is going to be, just to say with open, and we'll call this, Uniswap surface rates.json. And this .json is really important. Must remember that. Now this is going to be a write file, and here I'm going to put as FP. And what are we going to do with this? Well, we're going to save this as JSON dump, and this will be the surface rates list, comma, FP. Right, so this will actually save the JSON file for us. And I've made a typo here as well. This should be as FP, right? So open, so basically save this array here into a JSON format, into this file name like such. That's what that should do. So if I go and hit run, this should save for us. And in fact, what we should do here is just put, print file saved. And let's just go and run that. Let's just put that as a capital, file saved. So if I run that, should print file saved. Yep. And I can see it over here, right? If I double click on this file, here are all those arbitrage surface rate opportunities here in this JSON file. So let's go back to the main file again. That's worked absolutely fine. And I only want to do that if the length of the surface rate list is greater than 0. In other words, it's found an arbitrage opportunity. So if I go and run that, there it's worked again, right? So it saved that file automatically for us. Now you might be saying, okay, Sean, well, do I have to sit here, clicking play every time that I want to go and check for arbitrage opportunities? And the answer to your question is no, you don't have to do that. And, you should know now how to automate this to run based on the prior videos with Poloniex. But I'm going to show you up here, all you need to do is import time. And I just like to put the standard sort of Python packages up at the top, and then any function ones here at the bottom. It's just a personal preference in terms of the order that I have. But this is what we're going to do, over here. So what we have to do is put while, and in fact, we don't put it here. We put it up here under get surface rates. So we put it at the very top, and we put, while true. So while true. And if we just left this to run, it would just do too many queries. Like you would get blocked. You would be hammering, this GraphQL way too many times, and you would just get blocked. So what we need to do is we need to indent all of this under the while true function here. And we would need to go down here and just put, time.sleep. So here we would put time.sleep, and this is in seconds. So I would say, just let it sleep for a minute, right? And it will update this file basically every minute. So if I just go and run that, it's going to run, and you'll see it save the file, but it's not going to just keep running and saving the file super quickly. It's going to pause for a minute, and it's going to run it again. And it's just going to do that automatically. So you could actually just leave this code under this while true loop. You could just leave this to run, and it will just run for you and constantly save the file in that location. And then you can even automate your JavaScript now, because now we're going to be calculating the depth. You could even automate your JavaScript to go and pick out that file, get all the surface rates, etc., the potential arbitrage opportunities, go and get the depth, and for that to run on a loop as well. And you can have JavaScript, ping a sound or do whatever you want it to do when it hears or when it gets an opportunity. It's totally up to you how you want to do that. If you really want to take things to the next level, you could work on the execution. So you could execute the smart contract. And again, that extends past the scope of this course in terms of execution. All we do in this course is we talk about potential execution options. But you could essentially go and have it automate the trade. Now, obviously, there's things we'll talk about you need to be careful of, like gas fees, etc. But it should be much easier to automate in many ways, a DeFi transaction than actually to do something with CeFi, or not easier. The APIs are very simple to use with the exchanges, but I actually think it'll be better for you to do it through DeFi, purely because there's more opportunities. And frankly, the rates seem to be larger, and you're dealing with smart contracts, so it can be 100% automated. Now, in that time I've been talking, you'll see that the file saved again. So that took a minute to run, but you can see we've got 2 files saved, meaning it's run twice, and I didn't click the play button, right? It's just running that. That's just how it's working. So what we need to do now is I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to put our limit here to 500 again, because that should give us more opportunities to play with. So I'm just going to hit run, and I'm going to let that go through all the 500 and save a file for us, and then I'm going to stop it, just because I want the latest and greatest file to work with more opportunities over there. And in fact, the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure the minimum rate here is going to be 1.5, right? So now I'm going to hit play again and run that, and that should give me some better opportunities here to play with when it comes to going into the depth. Now, the other thing is there will be rate limits as well, right? So you need to just, again, bear that in mind, right? There are rate limits. I'm going to show you the Infura API, so you can use Infura to access the blockchain, etc. This is not a Web3 course. There should be, and I already should do a separate course on Web3, but you will learn Web3 anyway, and something called Ethers.js just by doing this course. So the point there is that we actually need we need that other API there. And if we go and hammer the APIs, you're going to hit your limits very, very quickly. And there we go. That's saved the file for us. So now we can go and actually investigate the depth for those arbitrage opportunities. So in the next video, we're going to not be talking about Python. We're going to be talking about JavaScript and Uniswap v3. So this is very exciting. I'll see you over there.